Hello everybody, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you my official review for the Peanuts movie. Now, of course, if you haven't seen this movie, please go check it out because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into the Peanuts movie. Now, of course, this movie was produced and distributed by Blue Sky Studios and 20th Century Fox and is based on the classic Charles M. Schulz comic strip, Peanuts. The movie was directed by Steve Martino and written by Craig and Brian Schulz, who ironically enough are the son and grandson of Charles M. Schulz, the original creator. And of course you have some music done by Christoph Beck and just amazing voice talents by actors you probably never heard of ever in your life. But that being said, let's get into this movie. Now, first off, I want to point out one thing. I loved the Peanuts gang. I loved the Peanuts kids. The Peanuts comic book strip was so fun and entertaining to read. I loved it just as much as I loved like Garfield, and I loved those TV specials, those cartoon TV specials, holiday specials that they did back in the day with Charlie Brown and the Peanuts kids. Was so entertaining and fun. Like, I think my favorite one back in the day was The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. That has to be hands down my favorite, obviously, my favorite just Charlie Brown TV special or Peanuts TV special of all time. But regardless of any of that, I had gigantic hesitations going into this film. I may have been a gigantic fan back in the day of the Peanuts kids, or the comic book strip, or the Charlie Brown TV and holiday specials. However, there were two major factors that I was gigantically hesitant about before going and seeing this film. Number one, Blue Sky Studios. Now, I personally admire what they were able to do with this film, animation-wise. However, their other franchises aren't really up to par with anything else. I mean, like, they have the Ice Age and Rio franchises. Both franchises I give 2 cents for. I mean, I just don't care about them. I mean, the Ice Age, the first film was alright, but all the other sequels were just whatever and unnecessary. And then the Rio, is there really any purpose about talking about that godforsaken movie? I'm just saying, like, Blue Sky Studios, it's like DreamWorks Animation Studios. Like, all they did was just oversaturate their characters, unnecessarily make a dozen sequels every year, and just rammed it right into the ground. They're basically just train wrecks. Like, Ice Age is like Blue Sky Studios, like, Shrek. That's essentially what it is at this point in time. And that was a major factor into me not wanting to watch this movie because I felt like all they're going to do is just make another Ice Age or a freaking Rio or whatever the hell version of the Peanuts movie. And I feel that would be just incredibly disrespectful and just solely the legacy of the Schulz family and the Peanuts legacy. However, they did an amazing job. I mean, the animation style, of course, it's more modernized. It's a more 3D animated kind of style of filmmaking. However, it just worked perfectly. All they did was take the comic strip and just brought it into the modern world. The only thing that's really modern is just the animation, which brings me to my next point, modernizing the Peanuts universe. Now, that's another factor that I really dislike about Hollywood studios doing with classic cartoon shows / characters. They like to modernize those cartoons. And we've seen it happen time and time again with Scooby-Doo, Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Smurfs. Like, the Hollywood studios just love modernizing these classic cartoons. And I feel like it's just a gigantic disservice taking them out of their original time spot and just trying to put them in the world we live in today. And I feel like if they did the same thing with this film, it would just be a gigantic disservice to the original concept, which is that it's just lost in time. Of course, it was created back in the 50s, and it had an amazing run through the 60s. However, it's lost in time. These are just kids living their lives in a day-to-day time basis, and they did that perfectly with this film. It's not set in 2015. It's not set in 2010 or, 2000 or the 90s or the 80s. No, it's lost in time. These could be kids living their normal day lives at any point in time. There's no cell phones, there's no Apple computers, there's no iPads or freaking Androids or, whatever type of technology of today, touchscreens, whatever. It's a lost in time kind of film, and I love that. There's no, like, super meta obvious jokes that you would expect in movies or cartoons of today. It's its own film, and that's why I think this film rises against all those other terribly made live action and or movie adaptations to classic cartoon characters / animation TV shows. This one just stands atop of all of them. The Peanuts movie was phenomenal. It was just a great throwback to the classics, to the TV specials, to the holiday specials, to everything Charlie Brown and Peanuts. It was just a classic throwback to that. The only thing they modernized was just the animation. I think the animation worked perfectly for the status of this kind of time period of animation. Of course, we couldn't go back to that 2D kind of style. However, there are throwbacks to that. There are certain points in the movie where there are throwbacks to the classic comic strip. There are throwbacks to like the classic like 2D style of animation. However, the majority of which is just 3D, and I think it just worked perfectly for this kind of movie. But that being said, the film itself is set in winter, and the Peanuts kids, have a newcomer in the universe of the Schulz universe, if you will, of the Peanuts gang. A new kid moves in, and apparently it's a little red-haired girl, who ironically is named Little Red-Haired Girl. I don't think she ever in this movie gets a name other than just the little red-haired girl. However, she is Charlie Brown's next-door neighbor, and he starts to obsess about her. He gets obsessed with her. He wants to be with her. He just falls in love. And the movie essentially is just him trying to prove himself as a good man in her eyes and trying to be with her. Just try to show that he's worthy of being with the little red-haired girl. And of course, you have a whole bunch of other subplots like Snoopy versus the Red Baron and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff like that. And I love this movie. I can't deny it. I love this movie. I've seen a lot of great animated features this year, and there were a lot. There were a lot of amazing, just truly amazing and phenomenal animated features that came out this year. We had Inside Out, Dragon Ball Z, just a whole bunch of really cool stuff. However, the Peanuts movie is the icing on the cake this year. I mean, I know we still have a couple. I think like there's The Walking Dinosaur or whatever the hell, but this one definitely takes the cake. It's just the icing on it, the cherry on top. It's just a beautiful throwback that all people can really like. It's for kids of all ages, it's for adults, it's for families, it's for people who were fans of the original concept, the original comic book strip, or the original cartoon shows or TV specials or whatever. Just fans of Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Woodstock and, all the various other characters. It was just fun to see that again. And I like the fact that they didn't try to overly saturate the character. They didn't overly use everybody. I mean, granted, you can make the argument that they overused Snoopy to a certain extent. However, Snoopy was awesome. I'm gonna just put it out there. I'm gonna put all the bashing at rest. Snoopy was freaking awesome. He has his own subplot where he's continuously writing everything that Charlie Brown is going through. So they have like this vice versa of like, Charlie Brown is obsessed with the little red-haired girl, and then you have Snoopy who's obsessed with the freaking the girl of his dreams, the Fifi, the Snoopy love interest, where she gets captured and he's trying to get with her, and Woodstock is just in the background just fucking around with them because it's Woodstock. It's his sidekick. Snoopy is awesome. I loved Snoopy. I think he was definitely the standout, hilarious bit of the entire movie. Of course, maybe to a certain extent it did get a little too far and a little too much. He did have a little too much screen time, maybe to a certain extent. However, Woodstock and Snoopy are icons. At this point in time, they're definitively one of the biggest characters of this franchise other than just Charlie Brown. So I understand why Blue Sky Studios or the directors and writers try to make Snoopy the main focus. So I don't really see that as like necessarily like a negative towards the film. I think it was a positive. I think it may have been a little too overly saturated, but once again, it's Blue Sky Studios. You've seen what they did with Ice Age and that stupid little squirrel. Of course they're going to do the same thing with Snoopy. It makes sense. But regardless of any of that, Charlie Brown is and will always be the main focus, and he was the main focus of this film, and his storyline is just interesting, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's hilarious, it's a little sad at times, which is, appropriate for the specific parts in this movie where it needs to be sad, and the rest of the characters are just awesome. I love all these other characters just getting all crazy and just, treating Charlie Brown like shit, and always, that it's just an amazing throwback to that classic point in time. Just the amazing references to the classic storylines and the classic TV specials, and the kite eating tree, and just the teachers that you never see but speak like they're freaking trombones, and I fell in love with this movie. I remember at a certain point when the movie started, I felt like, am I gonna like this film? Am I gonna love it? Is it gonna be terrible? Is it gonna just destroy everything I loved when I was a kid? And the second I saw those first moments of Charlie Brown trying to, play baseball and, try to be not a schmuck for once, it put, and Snoopy just messing with him, and Woodstock being in the background, it just put a gigantic smile on my face, and I laughed at all the jokes, and I laughed at all the funny parts, and I just fell in love with this film. It was an amazing treat for hardcore fans of the Charlie Brown Schulz universe, but also just fans of classic animated cartoons, and also fans of just any type of animated features. A lot of people want to put, Pixar and Disney, on a super high pedestal that no one else can reach, but I feel like Blue Sky Studios, of all people, who created the freaking Ice Age franchise, definitely destroyed this year with this film. Charlie Brown, the Peanuts movie, Snoopy, Woodstock, all these characters just destroyed. They were awesome. And the voice actors also did an amazing job. The voice actors, of course, tried their best to try and recreate the same sounds, the classical kind of voice talents of the original. And I think they did a great job. Freaking Noah Schnapp, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I think he did an awesome job as Charlie Brown. And the little red-haired girl, I think the actress Francesca, who voiced her character, did an awesome job as well. And I love the mystery behind the little red-haired girl. I'm just gonna I just relate with Charlie Brown so much. He's just a putz. He always misses. He's obsessed with the little red-haired girl. He has a dog that's always fucking with him. I relate with Charlie Brown so hard, it's almost ironic at this point. I love this freaking movie. There's nothing I can really point out or nitpick that I really just had me disgusted. There was nothing really I can point out that was a negative. It was just an A+ in my book. And I know some people would kind of downgrade it as being it's just past its time, or the Snoopy parts was just way too overly saturated, or just overused, and, the little red-haired girl, just was unnecessary. All that other kind of crazy stuff that I know certain critics, or maybe even certain fans, might point out as a negative. I never really saw that as a negative. Everything was just positively done, very meticulously done. Everyone who was involved with the writing, direction, and acting, and they treated this so respectfully that it felt like something that was created back in the day. It felt like just a recreation of a classic TV special from back in the day. I love this movie. I personally recommend a lot of people checking it out. Everyone involved did an amazing job recreating the classic Charles Schulz Peanuts franchise, and I would love to see sequels to this. However, it's probably going to be done by Blue Sky Studios again, and ironically, they are known for doing so many sequels for stuff that are not unnecessary, so hopefully with this one, it is necessary, and they do sequels. Hopefully they're good sequels. But that being said, my final verdict for it has to be a 10. And this is probably one of the very, very few movies I've seen this year that really has gotten a solid 10. I just fell in love with this movie. Snoopy's a freaking amazing, his amazing subplot is hilarious and awesome. Charlie Brown just trying so hard to impress the little red-haired girl. I related with him in so many levels, it's not even funny. And everyone else was just such a throwback to characters, you know, the freaking missing of the football, the calling him Chuck all the time for some odd reason. Amazing film. I loved it. Super, super awesome movie. I definitely suggest you check it out right now. And hopefully you have kids to go check them out so you can introduce them to the Peanuts and you know, just have an amazing resurgence of these characters. But I do have to be adamant about that you should go with kids, because it's probably like the only thing that I can pick out or be nitpicky about for seeing this movie as an adult fan is that I was probably like the only non-ironic adult fan seeing this movie in a theater. Everyone else was a family kid. It was a family-friendly movie, so a lot of kids were there and a lot of freaking families were there. I'm like the only non-ironic fan who's an adult who was there without a kid. So that was a major mistake on my part. So of course, if you're going to go see this movie, definitely bring a kid. Bring your daughter, your son, your niece, your nephew, your little cousin, because they're going to enjoy it just as much as I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it. I love this movie. I love it to death. I want to see it again. I want to buy it on Blu-ray. I need to just consume all of this. I want to go back and watch all the other TV specials. I want to go back and read all the other older comic book strips. I just want to see more Peanuts. More Peanuts kids doing their thing. More Charlie Brown schmucking it up, trying to fly a kite unsuccessfully. I want to see it all again. I love this movie. I give it a 10 out of 10. Let me know what you personally think in the comment section below. Do you think my final verdict is appropriate? What are your personal thoughts on the Peanuts movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your personal thoughts on the throwback to the Charlie Brown and Peanuts Schulz universe? Did you enjoy it? Do you think it's past its prime or time and you just think it was unnecessary to do a film on it? Do you think Blue Sky Studios did an amazing job or a terrible job at recreating the Schulz kids? And what did you think about Craig and Brian Schulz coming in to write the film? I feel like that was also just an amazing touch on their part, just to come in and write this movie, because just the fact that this new movie wouldn't have a Schulz on it just would feel, once again, just disrespectful. And the fact that they were in there to do it, and the fact that it was very, you know, it was an in-house family thing, that it was just so amazing just to witness. This is a Schulz product. This is a Schulz movie. And that's the way it should have been. This movie is respectfully done. It's amazingly done. The music is awesome. The animation is awesome. The voice acting, the writing, the directing, everything is on par or even better than any of the other animated features you and I or probably have seen this entire year. I love this movie to death. I want to see sequels. Hopefully good sequels that Blue Sky Studios does not try to oversaturate or ruin like they did Ice Age and other stuff like that. However, I have high hopes and I love this movie. I give it a 10 out of 10. What are your personal thoughts on it? Comment below. Let me know what you personally think. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JohnSk12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been JohnSk12.